The gaming industry thinks it has everything figured out. The big blockbusters, the endless marketing budgets, hype cycles that are carefully curated and calculated down to the date. Surely those are the games that everyone remembers, right? Well, not always. Like 2025 turned out to be a year that produced wildly different expectations, like indies, double A's, stuff you don't expect to do well, being the main thing. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx we're going to talk about just that. It's 10 surprise hits of 2025. Starting off at number 10, it's Arc Raiders. There's a lot of good word of mouth on this, and I had decent expectations for it, but even expecting the game to be good, Arc Raiders took off in a way that none of us could have predicted. Extraction shooters are usually uncompromising, cruel even. Like look at Escape from Tarkov, even up through Marathon during its early testing. The concept behind these games is you never really know who to trust, but the reality is most of them are shoot on sight. Arc Raiders is one of the first to actually incorporate communication and cooperation between players that have every opportunity to shoot you dead if they really want to, and mostly don't. It's a kinder, gentler extraction shooter where most players work together on the understanding that it will actually benefit everyone. Maybe the world could learn a thing or two from Arc Raiders. Or maybe we'll just keep on doing all the wars and shit. Whatever. Merry Christmas, right? I don't know.
Let's get out of here, Hambo.
There's just something really charming about Arc Raiders. The first time I've seen this niche genre achieve sort of a mass appeal, and a lot of gaming companies have really tried, and this is like the one that did it, and it has been rewarded in a big way. The game sold over 4 million copies in early November, and it's only gotten more popular from there. For years, we've been pretty skeptical about extraction shooters ever breaking through to the mainstream, but Arc Raiders seems to have pulled it off. Also, it's actually fun, so that's cool. Something we hope is actually fun is the videos that we produce, and we've got to ask you to click subscribe on them. Most of the people watching this are not subscribed, so hey, if you want to do us a solid, that's the way to do it. Helps us out a ton. We hope it helps you see stuff you want to see. I don't want to bog the video down any further. Just gonna say thanks a ton for everybody who clicked subscribe. Let's get back to it. And number 9 is Clair Obscur Expedition 33. This has been the game to talk about this year. It won Game of the Year Game Awards. Okay? What we are calling a heavy indie or a double A won the fucking Game Awards. Everybody's really careful not to say double A too, because that's such a big threat to triple A now. I digress though. Let's talk about this game. It's not really like this had like foregone conclusion type success. Could have easily been another AA game that slipped through the cracks. After sweeping the Game Awards, there's a lot of scrutiny on this game. Some people also might be going into it expecting the best game ever and being disappointed, but you have to understand this from the perspective of someone playing it for the first time earlier in the year when it was just another attempt at modernizing JRPGs. It's a song and dance we've been through many times before, but this one stood out because it's really well made, it's super fun. It's fast-paced and it doesn't go on too long. When every single RPG releases and pushes 100 hours or more of content, it gets exhausting, and something like this, it's a lot more concise. Like a 30-hour game, a little more than a 30-hour game. Like 1.5 Chrono Triggers. And Chrono Trigger was $79 in 1995. That's $172 in today money. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 launched at $49.99 in today money. You want to talk about frickin' value, man. Clair Obscur is where to go. It wasn't just a critical success, but it was also a financial success for the studio. Sold over 5 million units by early October, and I'm sure it's increased since then, especially after the Game Awards sweep. Honestly, it's one of those success stories that gets me hyped for games itself, and then the game is also actually really good. And number 8 is Donkey Kong Bananza. We shouldn't have been too concerned about it, but everyone was kind of worried about this one going in. I remember reading a lot of comments about this game leading up to release day. Trailers had people scratching their heads about what it was supposed to be. I feel like this was one of those, I didn't understand why people didn't get it ones, but it does seem like even larger outlets were more lukewarm than you'd expect from a big game from Nintendo. And it was a big game. All the pre-release concern ended up being unwarranted. It all evaporated when it came out because it's just that good. It's a really weird game, a lot more experimental than you'd expect from button-up old Nintendo. And at first, it almost seems like a bit of a liability. Like the game's freedom for destruction and the open-ended nature of it feels like it could detract from good old game design fundamentals, but wow, is that not the case? Bananza is excellent and probably the #1 must-play game on the Switch 2, which is surprising in its own right. It's one of those games that just gets better and better as it goes along, too. It gets weirder, more creative with each layer you descend until the game's absolutely bonkers finale that needs to be seen to be believed. It is impressive that they were able to make a game that is so weird and such a crowd pleaser at the same time. But maybe we should have seen it coming. It was made by the Mario Odyssey team, so of course it was going to be good. Just people didn't understand how good it was going to be. And number 7 is Silent Hill F. The remake of 2 was a big surprise to many on its own, but Silent Hill F, I think, was a bigger question mark. Yeah, they managed to remake one of the best games ever, and it was good, like, not shocking. I mean, it was great, which is maybe a little more shocking, but you're working with good building blocks from fundamentals and whatnot. Silent Hill F, on the other hand, could have been a disaster. We had no idea what it was. And in a lot of ways, the final game actually managed to surpass the Silent Hill 2 remake. It did beat it in sales, at very least, selling over 1 million copies on day one. Everything about this game is risky. The setting of a 1960s rural village in Japan is totally new, nothing like the usual northeastern American environments that pretty much every single one of these games is in. This one was more focused on combat as well. Which is an aspect that has remained controversial post-release, but the end result was way better than it could have, maybe even should have been. Silent Hill F came out with a lot of glowing praise and excitement, and it's cooled a little bit since release, and honestly there was also some controversy, but a lot of people expected the game to be bad, or at least mediocre, and it absolutely isn't. Even if it's not your favorite game in the series, it's way up there as far as I'm concerned. It is far better than Homecoming or Downpour. I would probably put it up with the original trilogy in terms of quality. It seems like Silent Hill is in good hands for the foreseeable future due to everything that's happened with the last couple of games. We actually did a Falcon Show episode about it. If you join the 1% Club, I think it's a pretty compelling episode, but I think that this is a series that there's a decent chance we're only going to get good games for at least a while, and that's great. At number 6 is Blueprints. It's one of the strangest, most mind-boggling and complex and weird puzzle games in a long time. It somehow ended up being an early contender for Game of the Year. The only reason it wasn't always in the conversation is the game, I mean, it's good. It wasn't bad or anything. But there are actually just a large number of truly amazing games that were released this year. So Blueprints is one of those hyper-niche games that in another year would get completely overlooked by the wider gaming industry, but actually performed really well, with over 2 million players by September. It's a game that's on Game Pass and on the PlayStation Plus catalog, so that skews the numbers a little, but I think the availability on these services is what allowed it to reach a wider audience. That said, it is also one of those games that's not for everyone. This is not a game that I return to a lot, to be fair. It's not one of my favorites or anything, but it's hard to deny that this was a big hit, and a lot of people like it for good reasons. It really benefited from Game Pass, I think. It gave people the opportunity to try something that they would normally pass up, and even on other platforms, it's only $30. It's a really odd form of roguelite puzzle solving, and I see it being something that people miss out on if the only place that you saw it ever was going to be on Steam. It's a game that starts off as something, a roguelike puzzler, where you draft rooms attempting to reach an end, and becomes something much more. It's a game that rewards the curious explorer, the types of players who like to poke at cracks and see what they can uncover. It can be frustrating, obtuse, and overly complicated, but the hard parts makes it sweeter when you solve a particularly complex puzzle or uncover something previously inaccessible. It's a game we collectively ignored in the lead up to the release, but the demo really made a lot of people stand up and take notice. And number 5 is Dispatch. There have been several attempts at a Telltale revival, but none of them have been successful, I would say, from both a commercial and critical standpoint. At least not as successful as Dispatch. For one thing, the game's weekly release schedule was, I think, quite smart. Instead of the old monthly releases, they chopped up the game and released 2 parts per week, which I think really helped the game's sales overall. Instead of just coming out and immediately getting forgotten while the next big thing rolled around, this game stayed in the news and sales increased week over week, with the game almost functioning as its own marketing. Another smart thing they did here was focus on the presentation. This game actually looks really good. There's none of the stiffness and awkwardness from the animations of the old Telltale games. It's all very professional looking, like a modern CGI Netflix show or something, but playable. You know, to the extent that you're actually playing in this game. Let's be real here. You're playing this thing for the story. The branching narrative is mostly the same, and the adventure game elements have been downplayed even more than the Telltale games. You can't really walk around freely anymore. It's just cutscenes and dialogue with occasional pointless QTEs, but the story is entertaining enough, and the presentation is good enough that it works. The actual dispatch part of it is fun too. It's simple, but it's some actual gameplay in one of these things that is surprisingly engaging despite how basic it actually is. It's one of those times that a game is just confident right out of the gate. It looks great. In terms of story, it's up there with the best in Telltale's old catalog. I've got high hopes for what Ad Hoc Studio does next. And number 4 is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. The first Kingdom Come was ambitious and impressive at times, but even years later, it was kind of a buggy mess. A lot of half-baked ideas that didn't go anywhere. Not to the point where I would call it bad or even not good. It was just hard to imagine a sequel wouldn't just be more of the same. A cool idea with some interesting stabs at realism for an RPG, but ultimately a missed opportunity. Deliverance 2 is not that. It is a game that comes out swinging with personality and style to spare, building up its world brilliantly. It's hardcore, but more importantly, I would say, is that it's fun. It's the closest thing we'll ever get to a Rockstar game set in the Middle Ages, I think, too. Not just because of the freeform open world and dedication to recreating a lot of period-accurate details, but it's also not afraid to get ridiculous, like have your character get drunk or act like a fool at times and get humiliated. It's a refreshingly down-to-earth and relatable depiction of the 15th century that we just rarely get. Usually this period is either full of pure fairy tale stuff or squalid misery. Kingdom Come shows us a world that's not really that different from ours. So both pure fairy tale stuff and squalid misery. I'm joking, but it's not that far off. It also ended up doing far better than anyone predicted it could possibly do. And it was a whole hell of a lot more stable than the first game came out and it sold 1 million copies in a day, 3 million in May. It's a game most assumed probably would be better than the first game, but nobody assumed it would be this much better. And number 3 is Ninja Gaiden 4. Both the Ninja Gaiden franchise and its primary developer, Platinum Games, were not in a great state going into 2025. Ninja Gaiden 3 was and still is a stain on the series' reputation. Platinum was hurting pretty bad from the embarrassment that was Babylon's Fall. I wouldn't say that's entirely their fault. A lot of that is Square Enix, but I digress. In the run-up to Ninja Gaiden 4, it was not clear if Platinum had any juice left in the holster, any ammo left. They had been losing talent left and right, though, in terms of like people leaving. We weren't sure if they could do it, but you cannot believe how much of a relief it was that Ninja Gaiden 4 turned out to be this good. It is not perfect. It may not even be the best game in the series, but it is so much better than it could have been. And I would say it may have the best combat Platinum has ever done, which is about the highest praise I can give a game like this. Like, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance exists, and I'm saying the best combat in a Platinum game might be in Ninja Gaiden 4. Keep that in mind. This game is fast, it is brutal and absurdly violent, while also being highly technical and challenging. It's a game that can and will overwhelm you with highly aggressive enemies, and it's not a game where everybody waits their turn to attack. They will all try to kill you at once, and it is exhilarating every time. It can also be exhausting, but in the best possible way. It's one of those games that actually benefits from a relatively short length because it's so relentless. It's a game that's tough to play for long sessions because your brains just gets overloaded. It's the best kind of sensory overload, though. And number 2, it's Escape from Duckov. No other game this year has had a bigger gap between expectations and reality than Escape from Duckov. It is a game where you hear the name, look at a screenshot, and assume it is the most craven shovelware garbage imaginable, and you play it, and it's incredible. The audacity of this game is kind of the point, because let's be honest, if this thing was called Survival Duck Game or something, most people probably wouldn't have given it a second look. I probably wouldn't have. So when I played it and realized how good it actually is, it's like a lightning bolt to the brain. A lot of other people must have gotten the same feeling too, because it managed to sell just over 1 million units in 5 days, which is very impressive for a small indie title that is Escape from Duckov. This is a game called Escape from Duckov, but this is an uncomplicated, well-made game, and rarely that gets rewarded. It's so good to see Escape from Duckov be such a big success. This game rules. And finally, at number 1, it's Schedule 1's a game that might not look like a lot, but it's super well designed and very entertaining, with an amusingly subversive premise. You're a drug dealer, which is a concept that has been done before, but in much worse games. This one's actually really fun, from the basic activities of growing and distributing drugs to the more high-level stuff like managing staff, dealing with rival cartels. The game is in early access, but there's already a ton to do in it, and while the cadence of updates has been slow, they always manage to add some pretty new features every couple of months. It's a good game. It's got a lot of development left to go, but it's already managed to sell over 8 million copies, though. That is a massive success by any metric, and it's a well-deserved one because it's actually a really fun and funny game. Also, there's Peak, somehow an even bigger out-of-nowhere success than Schedule 1. Peak, which was made in collaboration with Aggro Crab, the guys behind one of our favorite Souls-likes, Another Crab's Treasure. They managed to hit the jackpot with this goofy little hangout game that in this year alone has sold over 10 million copies. That is a success that is well-deserved. These guys have been plucking away for many years, making great games, but they haven't managed to get the recognition they deserve. And while you might say it's a bitter pill that the game that they put the least amount of effort into is the biggest financial success, I'm glad they're successful at all. It doesn't really matter how it happens, it just gives them more room to keep making cool games, and that's what I care about. That's all I've got for you today. Leave us a comment, let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription. So click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications, and as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. Join the 1% Club. Listen to The Falcon Show. Watch it. Whatever you want to do with it. I don't care. Thanks a lot, either way. And we'll see you next time, right here on gameranx.